I'm Janine Parker, an artist in residence and senior lecturer in dance at Williams College, and one of this week's Pillow Scholars in Residence. And it's my great pleasure to introduce two members of the San Francisco Ballet artistic team, Artistic Associate Antonio Castilla and Rehearsal Director Tina LeBlanc. So in addition to your current roles on the artistic staff, each of you danced with San Francisco Ballet, and I would like each of you to maybe give a quick recap of your career, and in particular, your role past and present with San Francisco Ballet.
I joined San Francisco Ballet in 1988, and I stayed with San Francisco Ballet up to 1999. 4 out of those years I did as a principal dancer, and then I became, a staff in the school. I became a teacher with the school, and then now this is my 3rd year that I have returned, because I work in London at the English National Ballet with Tamara, and then she called me and said, can you come back? And I said, oh yeah, I can come back home, because San Francisco is very much, I feel like home. And my daughter was born in San Francisco, and I was thrilled to come back. Yeah, but that's pretty much it.
Would you explain a little bit of what your sort of day-to-day roles are now, what your job description is?
My job description, it's quite long, I would have to say. I'm the artistic associate director, so I am, you could say, Tamara's right hand. So my job is, it's about taking, it's about conveying Tamara's vision to the company, to everybody that works, and to the dancers, to the artistic, to the rehearsal directors, to the school. I take care of administration, and then also I take class, once or twice a week, and then also take rehearsals. Yeah.
Thank you. Tina.
So I actually began my career at the Joffrey. I spent 10 years there before joining San Francisco Ballet in '92, and I spent 17 years as a principal dancer there. Then again, like Antonio, I went on staff in the school for 10 years, and then in 2019, the then director, Helgi Thomason, asked me to come upstairs and become a rehearsal director. So there's 5 of us under Antonio and Tamara, and we do the same, take rehearsals and teach class, and generally try to keep the troupe looking as good as they can.
And they look pretty darn good. So actually, since you both spoke about teaching company class sometimes, I would like to do a little bit, I guess it's housekeeping, and to me it's connected to the last piece we just saw, although that was bar work in quite a fantasy way, with just a little bit of license there. I'm very curious about, given especially today's program, we'll stay with today's program. How do you approach company class, this very important warm-up before a very varied show like this? Because some people are dancing in a couple of ballets, but not everyone is, and they're doing very different things. How do you approach that?
Me personally, company class, it's not a warm-up. Company class, dancers, we spend years and years perfectioning the classical technique. Years in the school, then you become a professional, but you never stop, you never end. You're always a student, always. You're always improving yourself, taking care of yourself. So class it's a way of reminding the body where things are. Where is the tando? Where is your leg? How you stretch your legs? How you, because the body is not completely, but it can forget from day to day, and so company class is, that's why it's daily class, and it needs to be daily. It's like like every day you brush your teeth because you want to be healthy and clean, and so company class is because you want to continue to have your technique brilliant and ready to be used, by creators and whoever.
Tina, do you have a different approach?
As a dancer, I was very much what Antonio said. I used the class as a way to, it was almost like a meditation. It's a waking up each muscle one at a time in order so that by the time you actually had to dance full out or even just off the bar, everything was where it should be and you understood where your balance was and everything. As a teacher, I tend to be a little bit more forgiving. I urge, I nudge them in that direction, but basically I try to offer the smorgasbord so that the people, hopefully at this point they're professionals, they know their bodies, they know what they need that day. They might be nursing an injury that we don't know about or, something is, bruised or whatever. And I want to offer them everything and they can pick and choose what they need at that time because some aren't working very hard and want the whole kit and caboodle.
So we will move into conversation about the stage stuff in a moment or two, but I want to stay with the daily routine, class and rehearsal. Tina, in a recent talk, you said that originally as a dancer, before you transitioned from the Joffrey to San Francisco, the quality of the dancers is what drew you to the company in the first place, making you want to join San Francisco. And that in this conversation you said it is still the quality of the dancers that you love about the company today. Talent attracts talent, you said. I guess, would you talk a little bit about the process in the studio with the talented bunch that you're working with?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I'm still learning as well. I'm still learning and growing and, honing my eye so that I can help them be their best. But it's ever fascinating. Sometimes it's easy and sometimes, you have rough days. Everybody has a rough day. So you just got to try to stay even-keeled and again, just try to urge them, maybe today's not today. We'll hit it again tomorrow. Or, wow, that was fantastic. Let's see that, next time on stage. So it's a work in progress always.
Okay. Before we get to the stage stuff, I wonder if you could talk about this. You both danced a range of repertoire, of course, in your own performance careers. But I wonder, do you see that there are new demands for today's dancers? And along with that, I think there's always been a multitude of demands. But I'm just curious about if you see the way rep is today, if it is a different demand. And at the same time, what are the ways the field is striving to help dancers approach these new demands and stay healthy? And yes.
Yes. Now, like many years ago, we had classical ballet companies. There's no anymore a classical ballet company. Companies we do everything. We do all kinds of styles. Dances are really versatile and it's important that they are, that we do that. And in terms of approach, I feel the approach, it's for me the same approach for whether it is classical, whether it is a contemporary piece, whether it is a neoclassical piece. The approach is dancers are telling a story, whether the ballet has a story or not. Like you've seen Balanchine, you've seen Forsyth, but dancers, they have a story to tell with the movement. So the approach is about finding their own voice in the studio. Of course, we work on the steps. We want the steps to work. We want the steps to be, as brilliant and clean. But it's not about the steps. It's not about the steps. It's about something else. It's about what's on top of the steps. It's about what you're saying with the steps. What's your story? And I think it's a story that is a true story because you cannot lie when you dance. What you see is what you see. And it's impossible to lie. You can lie speaking. Yeah, because sometimes you say something and then you're thinking something else. But dancing, you do something and that's what you do. And so I like that. I really like that.
And every day is different. Every day, your body might not cooperate one day. Just things. It's always new.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more question. It's so tricky of me. It's the endless, like, what could the answer be, but. And then if we'll have time for a question or two from the audience. So is there a dance from today's program that you think, oh, I would have liked to have danced that? Go ahead, Tina.
Yes, always. So many times. I mean, I miss dancing. So I miss what my body felt like when it was in peak form, and I could control it. You know, now I remember up here, yes. But the body doesn't. The body doesn't want to do that. So I miss that a lot. And when I see pieces that really stir me, I thought, oh, if only that had been around in the rep when I was dancing. Yes.
You did dance some Forsyth ballets with the Joffrey. Would you have liked to have danced, and with San Francisco, would you have liked to have danced any bits of the Bar Project, or?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Any thoughts before we open it up?
Yeah, I always, I mean, I would have, I wanted to dance everything, it's like, but, that's gone now. But I always wanted to dance Forsyth, I always, and I was never chosen. I had to wait until I become a ballet master. Then he chose me as a ballet master. But I really, really enjoy working with someone like Billy Forsyth. It was amazing. Yeah.
Maybe his next ballet, he'll have a role for. So I see a hand in the audience.
How long do you have to practice here before you actually do the first performance? To get used to the stage.
It's like the practice needs to be quite extensive, and I would say it depends. It depends. When a ballet is new to the company, it could say when we done the Bar Project and it was new to the company, it was about 4 weeks. It was a 3 week.
Maybe 3 weeks. Tina's saying maybe 3.
Okay, but it's 3 weeks, but of extensive work. Extensive repetition. Like I said, the body needs a lot of repetition. So the steps are, the steps become sort of like automatic, and then you can just put your soul on top and dance. But I would say it depends of the piece. Yeah.
But also, with our schedule in San Francisco, we have to learn the entire rep that we're going to do for the season from the summer through the fall. We have to learn it all. And one by one, we learn it and we put it away. Learn it and put it away. Generally, that's how it goes. And then we do Nutcracker, and then bam, it's season time. You've got to pull it out, dust it off, and go right on. It's very little time when we actually put it on the stage, unless it's a new commission or something. Then you'll get a bit more time on stage. But traveling here like this, we had 1 day.
I hope I can turn this into a question. I was just astonished at the balance of what I would perceive as perfection, and I'm not an aficionado, and utter grace and aliveness, and the illusion of spontaneity was kind of breathtaking over and over and over. We live in a culture that the concept of perfection is really denigrated because, one, it's impossible, two, it can be life-killing, and when we witness something like what we just witnessed, that obviously perfection is part of the aspirational goal, how do you achieve what philosophy, maybe part of this you've already answered, makes it so fresh and alive and constantly, as you were saying, each dancer is telling a story. It was, could you speak to that?
Well, I am with you. Perfection is unachievable. It doesn't really exist. Or it depends how you look at it, because perfection, it could be a sum of imperfections, like in nature, so I would say, and it was very compelling because I was talking to the dancers that did Donkey Show then yesterday, and they were like a little worried, and I said to them, you know what, forget about everything, go out there and surprise yourself. See what happens, but just be there. I mean, as long as you are there and you're completely present and you completely, like you're not holding back. You're not worried about, oh my God, am I going to do this turn? Am I going to do this arabesque? Am I going, you just forget about all that. You push forward, you risk, and it's very important to risk. And it's very important, first I would say to the dancers, do it, risk it, go for it. I want you to fall, really fall, get up, and I will go like, bravo. That was fantastic. And it's true. And in dancers, they don't, they were fantastic. They were like, and in foresight as well. I mean, it's all like I would say, it's almost like improvisation. Dancers, they need to forget about their steps and they need to just be themselves and play with it. Yeah, that's perfection to me.
Yes.
I was a perfectionist. And I did learn that there is no such thing, that you just keep striving for more. You push more. And you have to remember, this is live theater. Sometimes you'll see a fantastic performance. Sometimes you'll see something wrong. Sometimes you'll see a not so good performance. It's live theater. People go out there and they give it their all in that moment. You have to live in the moment when you're performing and trust that your body's going to remember all of those hours of rehearsal.
Beautiful. What an ending of this conversation. Thank you, Tina LeBlanc. Hold on. Antonio Castilla, and all of the artists from San Francisco Ballet, and everyone here at The Pillow on the production team, everyone that's making all of this happen. Thank you so much, and to you, the audience.